Hey, we're all here. And as I mentioned, we got to be a short and sweet one today because then we got the TDA meeting at 9:30.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. So we got a couple folks on the Zoom call, so thanks for joining us this morning. As Jamie mentioned, it's gonna be a short meeting. We're gonna finish up at 9:30. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Everyone wants to take a look at the minutes from last month's meeting. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I didn't have much I didn't have a chance to add it to the agenda, but the public art that I had sent out previously, and I printed out a copy, and it looked like Phil had made some comments on it. I think that might have been it on there, but I'm not sure. So I wanted to pull that up while to kind of decide kind of what our next steps would be from there. Anyone had any?
If we're gonna start with that, I'd like to put my foot in my mouth now. Get it over with. After all these months. Then I had this epiphany over last week. I kind of feel like we're doing the city a disservice with the route that we're taking. I don't want to have a big discussion about it, but public art is not just visual exterior art, which is what we have been focusing on. Okay. Sculpture, whatever, but primarily streets and parks, blah, 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 wherever the locations are. Art in this community includes theater, dance, music, all of the components. And if we're truly going to do public art policy, then it should encompass all of the arts and culture venues that are present within the city. And heretofore, the city has not embraced that as a whole. Don't really say too much about art, period. But
What do you mean by that?
what I mean is that arts, even though we all, at least in here, we all agree that it's a focal point of the attraction of this area. It's not just hiking trails and breweries and so forth. Art, whether it be gallery art, theater, dance, ballet, symphony, all of these play pivotal roles in attracting and entertaining not only our locals, but our visitors. And that makes it an economic driving force for the development of this area. And what we're doing in the policy, right, is intended to enhance that by giving people, fun art to see when they're out walking around. And by association, to go to the galleries and locations that also provide, which is totality, visual art. There's nothing, unless you have a little music with your art on a few occasions, that's about the only crossover there is. But by expanding the policy and allowing that to become the embraced vehicle that drives not just graphic visual arts, but music as a whole, dance, theater. You know, I went to the theater this weekend for a music thing. I mean, you know, and it was a hell of a good crowd for a quartet. That doesn't happen around here. That was a great turnout. So promoting and facilitating that stuff, and in so doing, you say, well, that's not public. Well, yes, it is, right? It's a public venue, not because it's owned by the city. You know, it's a public venue because it's supported and driven by a nonprofit that is in the arts and culture segment of our community. And if the city doesn't embrace that community as a whole, right, then we will sit right where we are today. I mean, Gen H was supposed to have some kind of theater venue, amphitheater, whatever, with strong consideration in its programming, right? You know, that's pushed aside for other priorities by virtue of Gen H development. But when I say that it's not embraced, show me. Right?
I guess I don't understand what
it's supported.
the embracing would be for,
I was gonna say, because I feel like there's a difference between public art and the arts. So you're encompassing the arts, which is fabulous, but maybe we need a starting point and then figure out how the rest of the arts, because they're not necessarily theaters and we're not doing it on the street. Well, we might.
yeah, I guess
It's not necessarily, yeah, we could, and so maybe it's a branch off.
If there were a facility for the arts, not just art exhibits, but, you know, theater presentations, music presentations. The city is supposed to provide that, right, in most areas. That's not a private.
like a venue, so that's,
A venue that allows all of the groups, right, to have a place, because the problem with Hendersonville right now is lack of venue for everybody. Right, and so if this could play some part, I'll get off my soapbox in a few seconds, but I just had that thought over the last, few days, and I think we're missing the boat. If we put this first, then we'll go down that road for the next 2 years, and there won't be any discussion about, these other facets that could and should be easily tied into this whole policy, right?
I guess I don't understand, like, I understand what you're saying for that, but I'm not sure if that's a city role or like the arts council. I don't know.
Say that, they're handling the music on Main now. And art on Main, which is visual art, but they're incorporating some other things.
Their responsibility is all type of arts.
They are
Right.
intended to be the advocate
Yes.
and the coordinator for anything that is arts and culture.
Mhm.
So music and dance and whatever. And I don't see how we as a committee could even drive that sort of policy without having the Arts Council involved.
Because we don't influence the Arts Council. We influence the city. And I think that's where it's missing. Yes, the Arts Council has a mission statement, but the Arts Council is driven by the state. They're not driven by the city. And the fact that we only have a pittance of population here, the Arts Council has no money we're one of the poorest in the state. So, that is part of the reason that Arts Council hasn't been successful over the years, right? There's no money.
Mhm.
All the money's out in the bunker.
Mhm.
But the point being that, yes, they have a key role in that because that's their mission, their mandate. But the city also has to have it on their radar.
Mhm.
Right? This is part of what we do. This is part of what we need to be. And so find a vehicle to cooperate and coordinate and, drive these projects.
The statement that, the very first meeting I attended, when you were tweaking the, where do we go over 5 years? In that copy, it was that the city would be the art and cultural hub of downtown. I can't remember the wording exactly, but it's hard to be the hub if you don't have a hub place.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I mean, it is everything all together, but kind of to me, what you're saying is that under the public art program, we need to, as a city, find a venue or put an amphitheater in or something like that. Because otherwise, I don't know how art and theater, unless you just come in the streets and do it, is actually a public art, unless you have a venue. So if you're saying that, then that can fall under here, but it's not gonna fall under public art to have a venue right away. I mean, there's some other things, but I see what you're saying about having a venue. And not all the venues are owned by the city either.
Well.
But, and there has been attempts of doing a large performance venue for many, 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 many years. And then it became the Gray Mill Apartments. I do think that we need to think about our scope of what we need to get done in this committee. Because if we continue to have that conversation over and over again, we're never gonna get anywhere.
There was a lot in the Gen H plan, but I do remember that there was, I don't think it went any further than this, but there was specific discussion about a city amphitheater park project. I believe the south part of Maine going towards the Trail District. That I think we were all like really excited about doing, but there's been no more discussion about that. So having a city.
It was adopted in like August.
Yeah.
Remember that, but it was not very long ago. It's not something that happens overnight. Y'all know that.
Yeah, and that's not in any way, shape or form, is that a near term?
Yeah,
Right, that goes into the,
yeah.
further down the road, but somebody has to be sparking, right?
Mhm.
And if there's a council, public arts council, or whatever this is gonna be called, right? That's where that seed has to be, nourished and put out to the council. So, whether we just leave a hook in this one, so we can add that, as we're going along and getting started on this other stuff, I don't care.
Mhm.
I just thought this needed a little bit of discussion, so that we don't just, push it back.
Yeah.
here. Because, there are the theater, they've outgrown that place.
Mhm.
And they are booked solid.
So it's
So you're
really,
talking about the community theater or Flat Rock?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just.
They're both solid. And so, nobody else can use their facility because there are very, very few dates available, like they got, yeah.
I'm confused. Are you talking about the Hendersonville Community Theater?
We had a.
they've got a lot of music and stuff playing.
Had a quartet there on Sunday, and it was one of the few openings to have something slide in, in a relatively last minute fashion. Because they've got such, strong, usage on the facility, so, and it's in bad shape. It's still, they're still reeling from the storm damage, basement flooded and all that, so. Again, down the road, for anything to come around the corner that would replace that.
Mhm.
But, get those things on the radar so they're actually item and not just back here in the smoke.
Mhm.
I'm done.
Now what? Now what's the next step on what so then what's the next step?
I mean, I think just adding it to the plan and making a note that, pursuing a public space, a city space, but that would support the arts and having an outdoor environment. There's an opportunity for that. I think just having that on here as a future action item, something that we're discussing.
And it's in the Gen A's plan and also has components in the park plan for an outdoor space.
Right, and an outdoor park with outdoor, amphitheater type of thing would, obviously there's opportunities there for including more public art within the park itself, so.
Yeah.
That could be a real hub for the arts in Henderson, in downtown Hendersonville. I think we even talked about having an amphitheater that actually could be utilized for rhythm and blues, taking it off the street. And having that, I think we're all in support of that. So I think we just if you want to just add it to what we have in front of us right now. As this is something
But is it really part of the policy or is it part of a program that we want to do, whether it's a sculpture or an amphitheater or whatever, but is it really part of the policy?
Well, it wasn't part of any of the policies that we researched.
Yeah.
Cause it's a part of an overall approach of
What we want to.
space, but like. What this is, we really need like for Main Street and 7th Avenue. What type of public art as far as visual public art on the public space for downtown that we want? And how our approach of doing that. And so if we need to rename this sculpture policy and mural policy, then that's fine too, but we do need to like get this figured out. Yeah, like I'd say noted on that, but as far as for our scope of like getting one part kind of figured out, I think we can maybe like take some bites at a time, and this is kind of a first bite. We can have something about public space, because that's certainly included in a lot of.
I mean, if that's your recommendation, why don't we just add what you're talking about to the work plan?
Yeah,
For this committee
yeah,
and just have it on the work plan.
I think
Yeah.
That's where that's gonna come from, is this committee is gonna steer that.
If the mission and objective is tweaked
mhm,
and expanded,
yeah,
but then the sections that follow are
yeah,
broken down,
Mhm.
and we start with visual art.
mhm,
What we're concerned about, that we can do the most with right now. But the policy then is structured such that we can build on that.
yeah,
This is Kristen. I know in the research that I did, there were 2 or 3 examples of communities that did have and did incorporate public space in an indoor large area where where the community could produce art together. So there are things out there that we can take a look at if that's a plan we want to incorporate going forward.
But was it part of their policy or part
Yes.
of the program?
It was part of their policy to maintain that space for the arts in the community.
Well, they already had a space. Okay.
okay, well, I think since we've got like kind of short-term, long-term, that can kind of like be added as more of kind of that longer term, because that's stuff that's a very longer process on that. Okay,
All right, so we have 10 minutes.
I mean, it all falls under the goals and objectives that we have of building Hendersonville's culture brand and being a national leader in art innovation and all of that, and having signature programs. So, I mean, it falls into this policy because that is part of it. It's just not specifically says an outdoor building or an outdoor area.
Mhm.
It still falls into this.
Mhm.
All right, any further discussion on that?
So as far as, for policy goes, I guess we can make any further tweaks on this and I can kind of clean it up and then we can take it to the board in April. And see what they're,
And also we have it under here where it says, public spaces with live performances emphasizing and cultural diversity. I mean, so it's in here. Am I mistaken? Is that not? It's under our program structure unless I'm not reading the whole program things correctly. Cause it's under the number 4 performing arts program, the objective. I mean, so we kind of have it in here. Or is this part of your part, Phil? I don't know.
I had to actually put notes on if we should for this particular, if this focus needed to remove
That piece.
the performing arts stuff, if we're wanting to keep it focused on the outdoor public space, but that was just a question to have a conversation about. Okay, well,
It's
I'll,
part of our detailed program, but not part of the policy. Under the heading, it says the detailed program structure, and that's where you talk about the sculpture and the mural program and indoor visual arts and then performing arts. So it's part of our program structure, but not part of our actual physical policy.
I guess we need to determine too, what is the role of the Arts Council and the different arts organizations, and the city just provides support for it. Cause it's, I mean, Arts Council seems like the venue for a lot of those things. It might just be the providing the resources for them. Okay, well, we'll continue to work on cleaning this up and then, maybe have a more final draft of it when we meet in April, so then we can, have it for the board to look at at their April meeting too, since we don't have a board meeting in March. Anything else on, Barton?
All right, where are we at here? 23.
Couple, for Seventh Avenue, they've done a really good job on sponsors for it, so we're looking good. What are we at with it? Like, it's like $4,000-5,000?
Right now, we're at 5,725, 750.
So we've got, we would be able to pay for the sound and for band with that money. So we've got the funds to be able to do that. And then Linda and Lana and I met before y'all were here just to figure out our process of doing the space, like how in our map we had the vendor space. So I'm gonna send out a form to everybody, just a quick little Google form of the interest, like, so that way we can get everything mapped out. And so if y'all can fill out too, where or what space that you'll need, so that way we've just got it all in one place to get everybody put in.
And Jamie's gonna put on the form that the tables are what, 20, you said? They can be split in two?
Yeah, they're 20-foot spaces, but they could be 10 by 10 too. It's not,
10 by 10.
yeah, there's,
So you could have two essentially.
and I can even mark that in the map.
And then she's also gonna send out clarification of what the event is and who we're inviting to participate on the street.
Yeah. And so we'll have that by March. Ask people to get that to us by March 21st. Just the quick form to be filled out for that.
Did Kevin confirm on the band?
Not. So
Because
think-
I mean.
you haven't heard from him.
I have it
You haven't talked to him?
covered as far as the.
Yeah, but you haven't talked to him.
I didn't know.
Okay.
I mean, I
All right.
can, I didn't, that they were gonna, I hadn't talked to him
Yes,
previously.
I will get with him
Yeah.
today and then I'll have him get with you.
We'll definitely need vendors.
All right, yeah, let me call them today
Okay.
and let them know that we're a go.
And we were looking around March 25th. Was that 25th to do just a walkthrough with all of the people who would be setting up there. Not to ask for input on things to do, but to go over the layout and everything for it.
And the scope.
Just not to add new things, but to just go over the scope, walk through the event.
Drives the acquisition of the permit, in the city.
Well, earlier.
We did. For what?
Here, why on-
Oh, yeah, so that would be us, and we've been talking with making sure we can do, with how that permit works, because what we're looking to do is with, and cause I talked with, Mike with Guidon about not doing the permit how we do it for Rhythm and Brews, but letting them do their own special event permit that they have, so that way we don't have to do the setup for Rhythm and Brews. The breweries do their own setup for it, where we don't have to man the serving.
Fine.
No,
Setup area? No?
no, they're able to do it if the breweries have their own special event permit to go to offsite locations for that. So we were getting that all confirmed with the police and with ABC on how we do that.
Is it intended that those spaces be tented? Or what's the,
It's really going to depend on what they want to have, because some of it might be restaurants that just put some tables, pull their tables out kind of thing. So I think it would really,
Marcos is doing
they're gonna expand out.
exterior
Oh, good.
self-pizza, so, and I don't know if they're gonna do a tent or just a couple tables.
But there won't be mandatory if you're a craft vendor or whatever, that you have a 10 by 10 tent.
Just the one, like the farmer's market section will be the same as how the farmer's market is. Most of them have tents. Some of them don't choose not to have tents, but most of them do.
Sponsors will probably have tents, logo.
Yeah.
So the intention here is that the sidewalk is kept clear. So anything, even if it's a business doing something outside, you're not on the sidewalk, you're actually on the street.
it is gonna reduce the amount of space for visitors. It could be quite packed with something in every single space like that.
I don't think it will be in every.
Yeah, I mean, do we have, as of right now, are there any vendors allocated for those spaces?
No, I just said that we were gonna be sending a form out.
So
It's not gonna fill up every space.
what we have is down on Maple.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more open, especially because some of it might just be tables that are extended out.
Yeah, and Lana already stated she's gonna do something, but it's gonna be more in front of her place on Maple. So that will.
I don't know anybody that would
I don't think it'd get too
do
crazy.
more than,
Yeah,
other than us.
Yeah.
I plan on doing several things, but,
Yeah,
most don't have that need,
yeah,
put one tent out there, two of them.
yeah. Cause I don't see it as being an event where it's gonna be a lot of people who are just there like shopping for stuff kind of thing. It's more of just a celebration of, there's music, beer, there's activity. All right, we're at 9:30. Is there anything else?
anything additional, any other? I know we didn't have public comment on here, but I guess we should open it up for if there was any public comment, but I don't think there is, so. Unless there's anything else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Or do I adjourn?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
We're moving over to the TDA webinar.
Which they haven't let you in yet, because I
Oh, really?
to get in.